Hi, this is Dr. Christopher Maloney, Naturopathic Doctor in Augusta, Maine, talking about colds, flus, and upper respiratory illnesses, which are basically all the same thing except for influenza, which is the flu. So influenza gets its own area, everything else is a cold. So colds are upper respiratory illnesses. They tend to show up predominantly in the fall and the winter. Officially, colds have nothing to do with the temperature of the world outside. Of course, what happens if the temperature of the world outside gets too low is we all go inside and we can spread the disease from one person to another. I've also noticed that, in fact, when it gets really cold or really warm here in Maine, we actually see a spike and a drop in the infectious rate. And that's really consistent with the idea that basically nasal mucus is going to be very efficient at a certain temperature and not so efficient at another temperature. So I actually do think the temperature has an effect on the colds and flu and how often they're coming around for the reason that I just listed. So colds and flus can be treated in a variety of ways. Predominantly we're still trying to treat them kind of with antibiotics, but not really. And they're not really effectively treated by antibiotics because they're mostly viral in origin, and you want to address them before you get them. If you're tired and you're cranky and you've been eating poorly and the kids have been eating poorly, it's very likely that you're going to be more susceptible to a cold. And actually, just being tired gives you 5 times the risk. Actually writing a whole book on colds and flus discussing all the different lifestyle factors that affect this. But the idea is that right now, if you were saying to me, well, what can I do to help my children prevent them from getting the cold and flu this year, I would say small scale study, colds half as long, half as many colds just from a simple 1 garlic capsule a day. Kids, if they'll swallow the capsule with food, it should be a no-fight situation. It does give them, the garlic is an antibiotic, has some antibiotic and antiviral effects similar to amoxicillin, and it will actually drop down the ferocity of the virus as it comes into your kids' bodies. Beyond that, I would say you really need to get the kids to sleep on time. If they miss sleep for 3 or 4 days and they're out and we're during an epidemic, I would expect them to start coming down with something. If you can get them to eat well, that means that on the holidays, basically the October through New Year's period of time, my family actually made us all eat a plate of good food before you had dessert. And that's probably a good rule for a holiday party, is as long as your kids eat something good before they eat dessert, they're going to at least get something in there that's going to slow the progress or the growth of secondary bacteria, which really like straight sugar. If you give them straight sugar, they're going to be like, the bacteria in your gut says, hey, thank you very much, I'm going to grow like crazy. It won't cause the cold, it will just make you more susceptible to it. So there's a whole range of information here on the website about colds and flus. As you can see, a laundry list of things you can do beyond what I've just talked about. And beyond that, there's a whole discussion of influenza. I've actually got a whole website called Guerrilla Healthcare for the Flu, talking about influenza, H1N1, the epidemics, etc. You can go through other websites and then go to Guerrilla Healthcare or go directly to the influenza site. So there's a whole huge quantity of information I've got on here about colds and flus, but just to start off with, go to What Do I Treat? Preventing colds and flus, that should be the most useful. This is Dr. Christopher Maloney, Naturopathic Doctor in Augusta, Maine, talking about colds and flus. Thank you.